essentialist. Am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Spending time all alone, sending my songs to the phone, dreaming of a better home, while focused on trying to hone this craft with craft. I hope the Brujas let this last.
I don't know if the earth is painted blue.
That was the great sounds of Watson with Outside on WNHH-LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, E.D. Bluez. It's in the building, Easy Bluez. You are better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us today on Behind the Brand?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you a story. We're going to have, this is story time. Everyone get close to the speaker, hug it if you need to. If you're watching us on Facebook, sit down, get your tea, and let's start to sip together because we're going to tell you a story. We're going to tell you that one of the hardest things in the entire world is to make it as a creator. One of the hardest things in the entire world is to put aside what has been drilled into our head, that you have to get up at a certain amount of time, you have to work this particular thing, you have to work for other people's dreams. That is extremely, extremely, extremely difficult for everyone. When I say everyone, I mean everyone. Now, we're going to magnify that difficulty by an extra 99% if you happen to be female. Because, hey, how many times have we walked into a spot because there was something wrong with our car and it only cost us about $79.99 because it was just a quick break thing and we had that conversation and we nudge. But I remember walking into every single garage with my mom every time the car broke down or there was an extra sound in there. And it was like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And now, $2,000 later, they changed the brake pad. Now imagine doing that in a creative aspect. A lot of people would fold up. A lot of people would try to play the game, play the system the way that it goes. But then there are other people who step up and make sure there is a voice for the voiceless. Make sure that these people are celebrated. And that today we have a phenomenal artist that not only highlights her own talent, but went out there and put together a festival to make sure women in CT's music scene are not only seen, but heard and appreciated. And for that, I want to give every flower. And when I say every flower, I mean every flower. We're going to go to Holland. We're going to get the really good tulips, and we're going to bring it together, and we're going to rock and roll. Put your hands together, not if you're driving. If you're driving, you keep your hands at 10 and 2, because we don't want any accidents, okay? But mentally, put your hands together for the amazing Jennifer Hill. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. This is great.
It's absolutely an honor and it is a privilege to know you. It is an honor and a privilege to be in a similar scene with you. And for those who don't know, why don't we tell the audience a little bit about the beginning? What was like, hey, I am going to shake the corporate coil and I am going to live life as a creative. What was that moment for you?
Okay, so I mean, the moment that I wanted to be a singer, is that what you mean? Or the moment I decided to go against the grain?
Against the grain. Well, let's start with first being a singer, and then let's get into against the grain.
Being a singer is just, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people, I think you know, it's kind of something you're born into. My mom used to sing a lot to me. My dad played a lot of instruments in bands when he was younger. And the story is that I sang before I talked, that I didn't talk. I sang a song to them. And I sang a Janis Joplin song to them. And they were like, okay, this little girl wants to sing, I guess. And I really haven't ever had a different career path in my entire life since then. But I had many different realizations from thinking as a little girl that really all I had to do was be good, be talented and work hard, and that I would be able to do it and that it wouldn't be that hard. And I didn't know really what I was going to go up against.
Right. That is probably the most realist aspect that anyone can talk about, because it is one of the hardest things. I used to tell people all the time, when you had your career counselors in high school, I would look at them and say, hey, what's more difficult, not knowing what you want to do with the rest of your life, or knowing what you want to do with the rest of your life and understanding it is the hardest thing in the entire world to even break even in, let alone make a profit. Now in that journey, most people would throw in the towel. Most people, take one too many shots in the chin and they're just done. Has it been because it is so ingrained in you, one of the main reasons why you continue to fight through, why you continue to press on? Or has it just been that punk rock element of it? They tell me I can't do it, so I want to do it even louder. Please let us know.
Well, there was something that happened in my life that I had to either decide to survive or not survive. When I was in 8th grade, there was a boy that I was dating that I broke up with. And I didn't think about him for a couple of weeks. And I went to visit some of my friends and go for a walk on the railroad tracks. And apparently someone had let him know that I was going to be there. So he showed up with a loaded gun and he shot me. The first bullet went past my head. I heard it zip. I ran. I ran over to the side and he shot me in my left leg. It was a really good shot, actually, even with me running. And my friend saved my life with a tourniquet. And a man that was working on the railroad happened to hear it and see like a bunch of kids, I guess, freaking out because he was trying to tell me what I was going to say, what I was going to do. Even though I wasn't even sure if I was going to live or die because I had, just gotten shot.
Right.
So, and that happened to me in 1990. And that wasn't a very easy climate. It was like, I found out as I got older more of the details. And, I was shot by a policeman's gun because his stepson stole it. So for me, it turned into a very big victim blaming community. It was, literally been put in the paper that I was playing with the gun that I was shot with at 200 yards away.
Right.
So really early on, I had to fight through other people's ideas of like what I am, who I am. I went from being a very well-known singer in my community already. I was already well-known by the time I was 12. To those same fans, like literally wouldn't even look at me because I was considered a really bad kid because I had gotten shot. So I think that led me, besides other things that continued to happen on that trauma spiral of my life, to really be strong. And I really didn't know how strong I was until I had to keep going through it. And then I finally got out and I was like finally older and I was like, okay, I'm going to finally, do my thing. I had gone through a lot of stuff. Literally, I was living in New York City during 9/11 and I was 9 months pregnant. And I had chosen that day to leave my abusive captor, but I chose the day of 9/11.
Right.
So everything that I kept doing just kept pushing me into the mud. And so when I started doing music, and to me that was easy, that was like my lifeline. And people kept being like, nope, you can't book this place. You nobody wants an all-female show. Nope. I was like, no, wrong person. So I think that strength, unfortunately, of dealing with so much trauma in my life made me want to fight for any other person I saw going through something similar.
Wow. Couple things.
It's a lot.
First,
lot.
No. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you for your openness. A lot of people wouldn't be so upfront with that. Thank you for telling your story. Thank you for feeling comfortable enough with myself and Prestige to share that story. Then second, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry you had to deal with any of that. I am completely blown away with the truest aspect of your strength, because that is amazing. The fact that you're still standing here today is incredible, and that is a victory and a success unto itself. And then on top of that, take all of that pain and not only push through artistically, but to push through to be an advocate for other people. That is truly a gift, and it is a blessing. And I want to give you flowers for that right now. So before we get into anything from there, understand that this is completely an open forum, and you can share as much or as little as you want. We are a judgment-free zone here. So thank you for the openness. That is amazing. Wow. from there, as you started to go and grow and from a corporate sales point of view, I always grew up in a sales aspect, and it was a matter of trying to figure out how to look at those negatives in a positive light. And all of those no's, you had to get through 99 no's to get to that one yes. Was that something that, you processed through as kind of like a trauma aspect of, because that's kind of how I did it with some of the things that and this isn't about me, but with some of the things that I processed through was, well, at least it's going to make a great story for when I hit, the behind the music is going to be amazing. Was that also kind of the way that you were looking at it, or were you just kind of, this is the moment, this is what I'm getting through, and I know that next chapter is going to be dope?
I think it was both. I mean, definitely you think about that, right? I mean, I've been told forever that I should write a book, and I have been writing it, but it's like an ever evolving story, right? And there's ever evolving things that are happening in my life. But at the same time, in order to survive those things, I had to like take them each day as they came. Like I didn't expect to be a single mom. I didn't expect to run from New York City and have my baby on 9/16/01 when I'm supposed to be having her at Mount Sinai. I'm supposed to be like staying in my dream in New York. But once again, I dealt with an unfortunate date rape. And it's like I had to deal with the consequences of what happened from that. And I told myself, there's no way I'm bringing a kid into this situation. And literally, like at the last moment, was like gathered up my courage, like a sprinter in my last like thing, and called my parents, and we're like, this is the plan. We're gonna lie, we're gonna get me out of here, and you're gonna get me home. And like, I picked a crazy day that then I had to endure that whole day and like make sure I didn't have the baby like in traffic, like just like all this crazy stuff. So as I got older and I've gone through these things, when a promoter, somebody says to me I can't do something because of the fact that I'm female, or they don't know all my accolades, or they haven't even heard my music yet, to me, that's like become such a small hurdle compared to the rest of the stuff that I've done. So if I have to like have a problem with a venue because they're not paying us what they say, and they're not giving me the respect, and then I have to do that in order for other people to not go through the same thing, which is the same reason why I recently started my podcast, which I talk about abuse and trauma and getting through it, because I feel like there's a lot of people that feel alone with that too. And they also need to see that somebody can be strong and pull themselves through that, and also still be an artist. It's, I don't know. It's just something that I somehow figure out how to do.
But one thing I do know how to do is say WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, Easy Bluez is in the building. We have Jennifer Hill with us on Behind the Brand. Easy Bluez, continue.
No, I think that's definitely the absolute how you have to process, and especially being creative. We talk about it on the show all the time. I personally feel us as creatives, our job is to take the hurt and the pain and the reality of the world and channel that into the prism that is our artistic our artistic scope and our artistic vision, so that we can beam that rainbow into everybody's heart. And that is definitely, we've talked about it all the time. Music in particular really started as heralds where we were standing on the street corners saying, you know, we have this going on today, and today this one is doing this, and all of that, and hearsay and foresight and all those fancy words in Old English that I don't know. But it's as we are really, and it has always been mentioned, and it always has been kind of alluded to throughout all of musical history, some of these extra internal struggles, some of these mental health struggles, some of these trauma struggles. But it really seems now as a society, we are a lot more accepting of it, you know, where you have, you know, hit songs like that song, My Anxiety Creeps Inside of Me, you know, where 10 years ago, I was writing similar things like that. And people were like, you can't say those things. You know, you can have trouble, but no one wants to hear about your trouble. Talk about this or talk about that. And, you know, why do you not have a catchy, why is the drummer not on the one on this? And you know, how come you can't bop to it? And if you can't bop to it, you can't say it. You know, meanwhile, you had artists like, you know, a Dave Matthews who's talking, you know, about his crippling addiction with alcohol in his song Bartender. But because you could swing to it, no one really understood the pain that was hidden underneath that track. You know, do you feel it a little bit easier, a little bit more of a breath of fresh air today in the creative landscape of today?
I mean, I definitely do, because some of the topics that I've been, you know, putting in my music or putting out there as an activist have definitely not always been helpful for me as an artist. They're helpful for me as far as being an activist and helping other people, but usually that will tend to like, oh, okay, she's like, you know, got too much of an opinion, so maybe we shouldn't bring her around. And I'm like, but my opinion is only there when people are not treating everybody equally. That's my only issue. So if everybody in the entire place is being paid one thing and we're whispering that someone else, oh, that person's getting, why are you doing that? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And then I don't trust playing there, and I don't trust putting my art into your hands, because that's literally what I'm doing. And then I'm also putting my pain into your hands. I'm putting my life into your hands. And every artist I know is doing that. So I wouldn't feel comfortable saying, yeah, you definitely should hook up with this person if I can't feel safe with my own art, my own heart, my own, you know, being with whatever's happening.
That is amazing. And this is usually where I tell people, if you're driving, pull over to the side of the road, get the pen and a piece of paper and write that down, because that is a huge tip. And that is something that you really need to, as you move forward and as you grow forward, because there are, depending on the stages in which you are in your career, there are certain venues and spots where you have to play it, even though it's not going to pay you what they say it's going to pay you, even though it maybe has less than scrupulous ways in which it became a venue. You still have to play it because it needs, if it's not on that resume, you're not going to be recognized for that next step. How do you, as someone, you know, who is an activist and an artist, how do you reconcile having to play those shows that no one really wants to play?
Well, like you said, you go about it in a business manner, right? So if it's something that you have to have on your resume, then I make it completely worth my while. Like, if I know that I'm going to be playing somewhere, I'm going to sing what I want to sing. I'm going to do what I want to do. There's a funny example of, now, of course, I liked playing this venue, but I was very pregnant and I played Mohegan Sun on the rooftop during the fireworks.
Right.
And it was considered. What? What were you gonna say?
Was there an Abdullah like on call just in case? Because to me, that's like, she's gonna go into labor at the show. It's a must-see show. It's a must-see show, but we have an Abdullah in the back just in case, you know, the fireworks spark off a labor.
No. I actually went and asked my doctor first because I knew that there was going to be bigger, speakers
Mhm.
than normal because it was an outdoor thing. And I was like, should I not stand in front of like the big stack, like, whatever. But there were rules. And
Mhm.
I was dealing with some stuff because it was like in the beginning of me really doing Swan and people really knowing who I was. So a lot of, I had a lot of press and stuff going on. But the band we were playing against had done something very unscrupulous that I called them out on.
Mhm.
So when they showed up, the first thing they said to my husband, they didn't know it was my husband, was, "Oh, you play for Jen Hill. I heard she's and I'm pregnant." And they said, "I heard she's I'm not gonna say the word because we're on so phallic symbol. I can say that, right?"
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My band came over to me and they were like, "You're pregnant," and they just literally called you this. And I was like, "Of course they did." I said, "Because they know that I called them out on something that happened that was unscrupulous, and they didn't like that I said something. And it was just at a show that we played together. It wasn't any, I don't even think we had Facebook yet. So it wasn't like any
Right.
sort of like public thing. Um, but the rules that night were you could play your own songs, but then you had to play to the crowd. So in order for me to
Mhm.
play Mohegan Sun, I had to give in to 3 cover songs. I
Yep.
knew what they wanted from me. They gave me a list. Brown Eyed Girl, uh,
Mhm.
I don't know. I forget what it was. I took the list and I ripped it in half and I looked at my band and I said, "Do you know what I've always wanted to play in front of a bunch of people?" They're like, "What?" I was like, "Summertime Rolls by Jane's Addiction." Like,
Woo!
they're like, "What?"
Yes.
That's what we're going to do. I said, "Because I don't care if we win because I already know we're not winning." Because
Right.
it was run by a radio station. The
Mhm.
band's that particular band's sister was the host of the radio station that I was against.
Right.
As soon as
Right.
I saw them get out of the car, I said, "Well, I'm not winning, so whatever."
Mhm.
I won the coin toss, which they didn't expect me to win, and they figured because I was pregnant, I'd have to take the first spot. But the second spot was the fireworks, so I took the second spot.
Mhm.
And yeah, I rocked the stage, and my 2 songs were "Personal Jesus," where
Mhm.
I got up on my keyboard and like danced across like the whole thing. And then I did Jane's Addiction and Mike dropped it. And that was, you know, so that's how I deal with
There you
rules.
go. Wow, we definitely are kindred spirits because I had a similar I had a radio show appearance back when I was just doing acoustic stuff, and it was a station that I knew why I was there. I was there to get yelled at. I was there because I was the liberal point of view and people wanted to beat up upon me. So instead of doing even my own material, they're like, "Oh yeah, do a cover." So I covered "Sweet Transvestite." Um, because and they're like, "Why did you do that?" I was like, "Well, this seemed like the perfect forum for it." So I don't want to live a life going, "What if?" You know, I wanted to do it. This seemed like the perfect forum, and we're going to go about that. They're like, "Well, what about your stuff?" I was like, "What about my stuff? You don't care about my stuff. You brought me on here to get into an argument, and that's cool. We got into an argument, and everything was fine. And what really hurts everyone's feelings is anytime I was on there, the people that were there to argue with me were always like, "Wow, I never thought that we could find an actual common ground and have an incredible conversation." I was like, "Well, I appreciate you, and I hope you have a blessed day." And it's again fine. I get why I'm there. I understand the ratings aspect. I understand people, need some people need that fire to move forward, and that's great. But when you tell me what you expect from me, don't be surprised when I give it to you. And that's exactly. I mean, wow. I am so blown away by you as a human being, by you as a talent, and I seriously just want to continue to give more flowers. But you actually mentioned something that I want to definitely highlight: Swan Day.
Yeah.
What is Swan Day?
Okay.
Let our audience know.
All right. So I'll give you like the quick synopsis
Mhm.
because it's now 15 years of my life. Um, It's SWAN stands for Support Women Artists Now. So I
I
found
like
out
that.
2007. I was looking for grants. I also am a full-time vocal coach, and I teach in this room 20 to 25 students a week. So that is my
Hmm.
full-time profession, is taking care of other people's voices, and piano, because I also that's what I also do in my band, is I'm the piano player. Um, so I was looking for grants because I needed some computer equipment or something. And I just was trying to see, like, it's hard when you're not a teacher in schools to get help with
Hmm.
certain things, but it's hard for me to be a teacher in school and see as many voice students as I need to see because there's not enough time. So I chose to make my living doing it in my home. And I have like a second family of people that come in here. So as I'm looking through, I see that this woman who now is, I call her my godmother, um, Martha Richards. And she was like, I want to put together an international day for women in the arts, and it's going to be called Swan Day. And she went to the
Hmm.
mayor of San Francisco. She had it made a day in San Francisco. It is throughout California. And she wanted different people to help carry the mission. But their main thing was art and theater. So I was like, okay, this isn't really, or not
Hmm.
art, mostly theater and film, I mean. So I went to school for musical theater, but really music is my thing. So I was kind of like, I'm not sure if I will fit in. So I wrote to her and said, I have this idea for a complete multi genre festival. And the reason being, because every time I want to see like my girlfriend perform in a band, or I want to see one of my friends perform in burlesque or anything, we're always playing the same nights. We're spread out all over the place. They only have one of us in each venue, and we couldn't even support each other. So I was like, you know what? For one night, we are all going to show each other what the hell we do. I'm going to promote the crap out of us, and that's how we're going to do it. And so the woman said, like Martha said to me, okay, I'm totally down with your idea. You'll just, you'll be something different. And she started helping me with some grants. So every year she kind of kickstarts my fundraising. It's not a lot. It barely even covers the venue, but it's enough for me to like be able to take care of things.
Hmm.
Um, Usually it's tax season, so I take my tax return if I have one, put all that plus the money she gives me into the venue, into everything. And if I break even, I do. If I don't, I don't. But then I have to, get together to the next year and do it the next year.
Hmm.
First one was small, all the way up until we got to right before COVID, where we were doing everything at Trinity on Main and having 18 bands at a time with like, 5 burlesque dancers, complete full dance troops, you know, to the point where we have had Patty Rothberg on our stage, which I don't know if you remember her, but she is from the
Hmm.
90s back then. And who's become really special to me is I met June Millington from the band Fanny, that was very
Hmm.
70s and is now making a huge return. And let me tell you, I feel like a lot of all of this happened for me to meet that group of people because they were fighting for a lot of what I was fighting for, but they were doing it in the 70s. And they're talking to me about keeping that torch going because, yes, they've seen things change a lot for women musicians, but not the full way that it needs to change. And, you know, to be in your 70s and your 80s still fighting this stuff, it gets a little tiring. And you need the next generation to pick up for you. So, June Millington definitely, like, if she works so hard to keep everything going, and she's like another person in my life that I look up to. Um, because I just, I feel like if I didn't meet her at some point, maybe I would have given up because it started to get really hard after a while. You know, like it felt like shooting myself in my own foot. Like, because I was standing up for everyone else. Now nobody wanted to book me because, oh, well, she's
Hmm.
got a 15-year festival. We don't like, she doesn't need help. We're not going to put her on a festival. We're not going to do this. And I'm like, but that's why you started coming in the first place, was because I was singing my soul out to you and you trusted me
Hmm.
to find talented women. So, it really helps to have been able to, I think that was a gift from this whole thing from Martha, but the stories they have. So June Millington runs this thing called IMA. It's the Institute for Musical Arts, and it's all girls that she teaches. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn everything. You have to learn engineering. You have to learn how to play the drums, the bass, everything to be behind yourself just in case you don't have anyone to help. I do that too here, but I don't have the same resources that she does. She has it.
Right.
She has one in another country. I can't remember where, but I know she has one in California. She has one here, and that's the one I go to visit is here. But just being around that and seeing that maybe it took her all the way until her 70s, but everybody's talking about Fanny right now. Everybody is putting
Mm-hmm.
her documentaries and giving her her due for them being the first all-female band to record at Apple Studios, the first all-female band to be signed to major labels at that time, where they had fans like David Bowie and people totally behind them, but they were all girls. And it just,
Mm-hmm.
so it's been a long journey. And sometimes I get really like upset, like, I wish that it was easier and that speaking out didn't make people uncomfortable. But you have to make them uncomfortable, I guess, for change to happen. So I just take it as it goes and I meet new people. Right now, I'm in one of the best situations recording that I've been in a really long time. And we share that in common with Vic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trusting him with music I wrote 15 years ago that I was in the middle of a very abusive relationship and
Mm-hmm.
I can't sing those songs. I actually used to get in trouble for writing those songs. I had them ripped out of my book. I had like all sorts of things happen to me if I performed those songs. So I just tucked them away. And then I met Vic and I feel like this is the best album that I've ever done. So it's going to take a bit.
That's yeah. But no, that's incredible. And Vic, it gives the artist that environment, where there isn't that judgment. There's been many a times, Vic loves to say that my band is a little bit to the left, just kind of outside of the actual mainstream aspect, and he's not quite sure how we can go about marketing or go about and doing these different things because we don't necessarily make sense. But he also has stated, being one of the really first original bands he's heard in a long, long time, it is a refreshing aspect, and we're able to talk about things that other people aren't. And because we do it with a 3-foot tall stuffed penguin, people let us get away with a lot more than we should. We can release a whole track about, the horribleness of toxic masculinity, and 7,000 people will stream it 7,000 times on Spotify because we're just a little bit of the left, and you can't take it 100% too seriously because we have a 3-foot tall stuffed penguin that's dressed like a Yakuza mafia guy. And it works for us.
Yeah.
But without having Vic there to guide, us through those type of aspects, or to say, hey, if you phrase it a little bit differently here, it's going to resound a lot better, and you're going to be able to knock down those doors. But that's Vic. And I love the fact that you're working with Vic, and I honestly cannot wait for that project to be released because, I think it's, Vic will always hold a special place for us.
Definitely. And this holds a special place in my heart. WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ Bluez is in the building. We got the great Jennifer Hill with us on Behind the Brand. EZ Bluez, continue.
Another thing that I want to give you flowers for is you understand, although you have gone through this traumatic journey and you are continuing to advocate for people to grow forward, you also understand that you've gotten here by standing on the shoulders of giants. And the fact that you just gave a good part of an interview about you to highlight the incredible work of other people, that is a quality that is amazing. And I really, really want to thank you for that, because I know for a fact there's a lot of listeners right now that are going, Fanny, we're going to go take a look at that. And we're going to go see why, why they're talking about, a struggle. I thought that this just happened recently. And how could there be a struggle if, one of the top selling artists of all time was Mariah Carey? And how could there be a struggle if, Aretha Franklin was the queen of soul? Because those are the exception and not the rule. I remember watching Behind the Music, and Dee Snider was talking about Lita Ford and how Lita Ford is such a phenomenal guitar player. And here she is in the 80s in a music video, slathered in leather, crawling so she can lick an ice cube. Yet she's still one of the best guitarists to come out of the 80s. But everyone's going to remember her for licking the ice cube. And that's horrible. Like, that's, and maybe I feel a little bit different being raised by a single mother. Maybe I see it a little bit different because I understood how hard she had to fight. Maybe I see it a little bit different because I watched her have to give up on her dreams to support myself, my brother, and my sister. But it always blew my mind how unfair and how slated. It's tough to take a step forward when someone's foot is on your head. And I do feel that that's happened a lot for females in the music industry. It's happened a lot for people in the music industry, period. It is a 1% world. And some of these incredible artists, Steve Miller's a phenomenal guitar player. Steve Miller comes from a family of means and could afford to be a phenomenal guitar player. When you have somebody, like Leadbelly, who came from nothing, who built the guitar himself and was playing the stuff when there wasn't already, a structure ahead of him, I put Leadbelly in a different category. But that's just me.
Well, see, for me, this is interesting, okay? My lifelong motto has been WWMD. What would Madonna do? Now, Madonna is one of the one of the only self-made women. Now, if you watch Madonna in The Breakfast Club, you are going to learn so much about her that you never learned. That even me being one of her, literally, I'm like one of her biggest fans, because I think that her being so brave to stand up to people after, like, especially around and during the time that I was going through all the stuff I was going through, I kept thinking, what would Madonna do if this person did that to her? And like, it helped me through a lot of stuff, but like, she plays the guitar. It wasn't something new. She plays the guitar, and she used to walk around downtown in Times Square with her partner, who was also her boyfriend at the time, with one of those old pig belly, is that what it's called? The old, and they would hold him between, and they would walk downtown and they would play for everybody in the subway and everywhere else. But for some reason, we only talk about her career once it gets to a certain time. We don't talk that she knows how to play the drums and that she was the drummer first for the Breakfast Club, and that they moved her to every single instrument because she could play them. But then she was getting much attention. And that is when they left, because they didn't like the attention that was going on. But even at her acceptance speech in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, she brought them up because these men actually believed in her. And they told the true story of her really having talent and not just being some sort of sexy bimbo that couldn't really sing or put things together. Like, she's really talented. She might not have the best voice in the world. And as a vocal coach, I can hear whatever. But she went and she made herself better for Evita. She made herself better every time. So what you were talking about before with music videos and things like that, I have only done so far one professional music video. I've done, those ones where you can the lyric videos, stuff like that. And I had a budget. And I have a friend who he brings a lot of the movies to Connecticut. So, you'll see like, there's like a Denise Richards movie or something coming through. And a lot of extra work. So he was like, I will help you with your music video and it will be amazing. And I was like, cool, I'm going to have like a cinematic music video. He's like, what is it going to be about? I said, it's going to be superhero women saving each other from the dastardly deeds that society does against us. And we're going to show society that we can take care of it on our own. And I'm going to take back some of the things that happened to myself. So my original Made of Candy music video features a bunch of swans, because there were women that I think are talented, and I wanted to have them to continue showing, who they are. Patty Rothberg is in it as one of the villains. And it is really like my Taking Back the Night video, but I decided I wanted like tongue in cheek, like, tie up the guy on the railroad tracks kind of things. But actually he looks up and this like group of superhero women come. Now, if you watch the video, all of the weaponry actually is a bit phallic, because we're also going against the fact that it's always society pushing us down.
Right.
So they're not really nunchucks if you look very closely.
Right.
They're really Chinese stars. They all have something different about them where you can see that it's really not what it is. It's more phallic. But
well, hold on. Before we get any further, and we're going to have you back on, because you are an incredible human being. You're a phenomenal interview, and I feel like I've just met a soul of someone who is a soul kin to me, and we're going to grow and we are going to build together. Trust me on that. But unfortunately, as any great show runs to its end, but we want to give this time for people to be able to fall in love with you the way that Prestige and I have fell in love with you in this short period of time that we've had. How can people reach out to you if they want vocal instruction? How can people reach out to you to book you? How can they find your music? How can they find you? How can we start to live out the example for the youth that's coming up to now go with WWJHD? What would Jen Hill do? So tell us.
Okay, so you can, my web address is jenhillmusic.com. So that's pretty easy. Swan Day is simply Swan Day CT, and that's on Facebook. Jen Hill Music is also on Instagram. I'm a bit tricky when it comes to streaming services because I like to name things different things. So you can find me as Jennifer Hill, which is like solo stuff. Jennifer Hill and Company was when I was doing stuff with Sling Slang Records. It's a little bit different, more rockabilly. And then Murderous Chanteuse is when I went electro. Everything is me. I don't even have anyone playing on that except for me on the computer. So those are the three ways to find me. And that's on, I prefer if you go to my Apple or if you go to my my Bandcamp. Actually, Bandcamp, I really prefer you to go to because they actually give us.
Right.
And if you want to be involved with Swan, you just go to the Swan page. I answer every message that I see. So you can write to me there and tell me about an amazing female artist or tell me about something you want to, do. And the last thing is right now, Shattered Illusions podcast. I'm starting to be a speaker to go out and help people that have been through trauma and let them know they're not alone. So you can go to Shattered Illusions podcast on Facebook too.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you for being here. Thank you for surviving, and thank you for thriving. Not only surviving, but thriving. Thank you for all you do. And I'm a fan. We're gonna move forward. We're gonna grow. It's gonna be amazing.
Thank you.
Anything
so much.
Prestige?
Thank you.
Thank you once again, Jen. We really do appreciate you on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, myself, Prestige, and Easy Blues on Behind the Brand.
I wanna be that girl with the sun shining on my face without a care in the world. And I wanna stop